What's good, everyone? For today's video, we've got top 15 strikers in the UFC. Now, for the criteria for this is first, the most important is skill in striking, so the ability to outstrike your opponents and just break them down. And then the second most important thing for the criteria is your KO power, being able to KO and put people out. And I prioritize skill over KO, the ability to outstrike over KO power, because ability to outstrike takes skill. KO power is just really just genetic. So yeah, but let's move on to the honorable mentions. For the honorable mentions, we've got Yuri Prohaska, Charles Oliveira, Yair Rodriguez, Jose Aldo, Justin Gaethje, and Brandon Royval. Now I won't go through any of these people because that were just honorable mentions, but Yuri, great striker, great KO power. Charles Oliveira, um, very good striker as well. Yair, amazing kicks. Jose Aldo, really well-rounded everywhere, great boxer. Royval, great boxer. Justin Gaethje, great kickboxer with great leg kicks. Now let's move on to 15. Now this may be a little controversial, but at 15 I've got Diego Lopez. Now his power is amazing, okay? He knocked down Brian Ortega each round in that fight. First round at the start, second round with the leg kick, and then third round at the end. He dominated Brian Ortega. I know Brian Ortega isn't that good on the feet, but still, it's quite impressive because he's never been dominated like that since Volkanovski and Holloway. Then next we've got Dan Ige. He's fought Dan Ige in the first two rounds, dominated Dan Ige. Then later on, he gassed out, but he still won that 29-28. And then his performance on UFC 300 against Sadiq Yusuff, where he just came out, knocked him down straight off the jump, and KO'd him in the first round. And that is why I've got Diego Lopez at 15. Now let's move on to 14. Carlos Prates. Now, Carlos Prates hasn't beat anyone significant, but the striking he's displayed already is elite. Now, his first one is his KO over Neil Magny in round 1 at UFC Apex 100. He put him out cold with just a little hook. Or I can't even remember what exactly it was, if it was a hook or an elbow, but still, he just put him out cold. And then his performance against the Li Jingliang, Li Jingling, where in round 1 he went, knocked him down, dominated him, and then in round 2 he just put his lights out, and he was out cold for about 3 minutes. Not much to say here, just Carlos Prates is a great striker with insane power. So let's move on to number 13. We've got JDM, who just announced sadly is fighting Leon Edwards, who I think he's gonna outstrike and beat. I'm sad about that because when I bought tickets for UFC 312, I thought it was gonna be in the card, which he isn't, and now the card's fucking ass. I just saw a report saying Ray Saruya is now out of the fight. Now that leaves 3 good fights: Main, co-main, and Jack Jenkins fight. But that's a different conversation for a different day. We've got him. He severely outstruck Gilbert Burns, and then Gilbert fucking Burns, and then he KO'd him with a knee in round 3 in ground and pound. Then he went to a split with Kevin Holland, which a split with Kevin Holland isn't that good, but I'll let it slide. And then what's really impressive is he KO'd Randy Brown in the first round. Fight starts, KO's him off the jump. Now I find that very impressive because Randy Brown is a good striker, very good unranked fighter. Hold on, let me hydrate. Now, Jack Della Maddalena has got to start on 13 for his boxing skills. He's a very good, impressive boxer. I think he's the best boxer in the welterweight division, and spoiler, I have him as the 3rd best striker at welterweight, behind 2 other people who are going to be on this list very soon. But let's move on to number 12. Israel Adesanya. Now, prime Izzy would be a lot higher, but we're talking about Izzy right now. So the people he outstruck, we've got his infamous and famous KO in round 2 of Alex Pereira, where he put him out cold with an overhand right, I believe. And we've got 2 wins over Robert Whittaker. First one where he KO'd him with a hook, with a check hook in round 2, and where he outstruck him to a decision in their second fight. Then we've got his dominant performance over Paulo Costa, where he KO'd him in round 2. And then we've got his really shit and boring performance over Yoel Romero, but he still outstruck him, so it goes on here. And then he's got his okay performance against Jared Cannonier, where again he just outstruck him. Izzy's on here because he's when it comes to point fighting, he may just be the best at it. He's got very good leg kicks at range, and good jabs, good hooks, and he's got sneaky KO power. It's very underrated. You know, he was able to hurt Dricus, didn't wobble Dricus, but hurt him. Sean Strickland, he didn't do anything. In the first fight with Pereira, he wobbled him and almost KO'd him, and Pereira got saved by the bell, which we can see is very impressive now. But let's move on to number 11. Number 11, we've got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Now, he's one of the best strikers of all time, very good kicker. You must think, why is he on here? Well, because he's still a very good striker. In the fight with Joaquin Buckley, I know he got KO'd in that fight. I don't have it down here because he got KO'd, but he was outstriking him and beating him on the feet, which Buckley is a great striker, we know that. So, I've got what some people may not know, his round 1 KO over Robert Whittaker. This was very back in the day at welterweight. Then we've got this is maybe a bit controversial, but I've got his second fight with Tyron Woodley, him outstriking him. Because he did lose that fight 48-47, but Woodley mainly beat him because of his wrestling. Now, we've got his UD over Rory McDonald, which is also very impressive. Oh shit, I put round 1 KO for Masvidal when it was round 1 KO for Rory McDonald. Whoops, mistake here. No. He got a round 1 KO over Johnny Hendricks, and then recently TKO Kevin Holland in the 4th round. Now, he's on here because of his kicks and his just ability with his kicks. He has a lot of power in his feet. And his hands are okay. He's got good boxing, but he just has pillow hands. But let's move on to number 10. Number 10, we've got Dustin Poirier. That guy's a scumbag, bro. The man himself, Dustin Poirier. You've got him outstriking Max Holloway to a decision twice. We've got his 4th round KO against Justin Gaethje. Fun fact, that's my favorite fight of all time. Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje won. Then we've got him KOing Conor McGregor. One wasn't really a KO, but the second fight was. So yeah, we've got him over Eddie Alvarez twice. We've got Michael Chandler fight. His KO over Anthony Pettis, and his brutal KO over BSD, as you can see here. Now, Dustin Poirier, he's known to be a very good boxer and have great boxing. He's also got pretty good kickboxing, but his boxing is where he strives. I believe he's a top 5 boxer still in the UFC today, with him only person to really outstrike him being Islam Makhachev, who will be higher up on this list. Now let's move on to number 9. At number 9, we've got MVP. This may be a bit controversial because he's had 2 fights in the UFC, but on the feet for both of these fights, he was extremely dominant. We had his most recent one against Ian Gary, where he turned. Fucking now I've got the hiccups. Fuck, man. Pardon me. We've got his first fight against Ian Gary, where he turned Ian Gary into a wrestler. You could just see on the feet how much faster he was. And also, spoiler, I have him as the best striker welterweight. Now we've got his performance over Kevin Holland as well, where he 30-27 Kevin Holland. He just beat the brakes off him, and you could see him if you go back and watch his fights in Bellator and his highlights, you could see how dominant of a striker he was. His kicks are amazing, and his hands are also, his kicks are like Wonderboy, but the thing is, he's got hands. He's got powerful hands. He KOs people, and he's just very good everywhere on the feet. Now, MVP would be a top 5 guy at welterweight if he had a ground game, but Ian Gary was able to take him down easily. And Ian Gary, he's not bad he's not bad with takedowns, but he's not very good either. And he just took him down, controlled him for 2 straight rounds. So let's move on to number 8. At number 8, we've got Sugar Sean O'Malley. This may be controversial because this may be a bit too low for him, but really the only people he's outstruck are Petr Yan, which I had him losing that fight. I think that fight's a huge robbery. Anyone with a brain would score. Anyone with a fork and brain would score round 1 for Petr Yan. Apart from Schmidt, we got his, I believe, Luke KO over Aljamain Sterling in round 2 to win the title. I believe that was just a star aligning moment. All the stars aligned, and then we've got his dominant performance over Chito Vera, who Chito's a bum. Okay, none of these are like the Yan one. He outstruck him, but not by that much, and he lost that fight. Aljo, he was losing the first round, and then he goes KOs him with a star aligning moment in round 2, and the Chito Vera one, Chito's just a bum. So, still Sean O'Malley, great kickboxer. He's got KO power with his hands, great kicks everywhere, KOs a lot of people, but he's just, against top competition, he's just not that impressive. Like, I was expecting him to KO Merab Dvalishvili, but he couldn't even do that. He couldn't even KO Merab, and got dominated by Merab. I know that was a 48-47, but apart from round 5, the only round Sean O'Malley won was a very close round, while every round Merab won was just dominant. But let's move on to number 7. At number 7, we've got Max Holloway. Now, he's been very impressive. Even in his last fight against Ilya, I believe he won the first round, and that he made the second round very close as well. Max Holloway, he's a phenomenal boxer. He's got good kickboxing as well, but his boxing is really where he strives. I believe Max Holloway is a top 3 boxer in the UFC, maybe. I believe Ilya and one more person, and Islam, maybe the only boxer. I know I said Islam Makhachev is a better boxer than Holloway. Not prime for prime, but right now. And Holloway has got 2 KO/TKOs over Jose Aldo. His infamous round 5 KO over Justin Gaethje. His decision over Yair. His 3rd round brutal KO over TKZ. His round 3 KO over Pettis. Round 4 TKO over Brian Ortega. His win over Arnold Allen, Frankie Edgar. And also you have maybe the most dominant performance apart from Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez ever, which is his record-breaking fight against Calvin Kattar. Now, like I said, the reason he's here is mainly his boxing. He's a phenomenal boxer. So let's move on to number 6. At number 6, we have got Petr Yan. Now Petr Yan, I would have had Max Holloway over him, but after his last fight with Davison Figueiredo, I just had to put him up really high because that was so impressive. He knocked down. He's not known for his power, but he knocked down Davison Figueiredo in, I believe it was the 3rd round, I think 3rd or 5th round. But he's got round 5 KO over Jose Aldo to win the belt. He had a dominant performance over Corey Sandhagen, outstriking him easily, as you can see in this picture. He's got, like I said, his dominant performance over Davison Figueiredo. He's got his performance over Song Yadong, quite a close fight in his round 3 KO over Uriah Faber. Now, him being on here is his boxing. Apart from Ilia Topuria, Petr Yan is the best boxer in the UFC and one of the best boxers we've ever seen. He has outboxed every single opponent he's ever fought, to be honest. Merab beat him by holding him up against the fence. Sean O'Malley beat him with kicks. Well, he didn't even beat him in that fight, but when it came to the boxing, Petr Yan was better. And he's outboxed every opponent he's ever fought, and his kickboxing is amazing too. People don't talk about his kickboxing because of how good his boxing is, but that's why Petr Yan is on this list and over Sean O'Malley because of his boxing abilities. But let's move on to the top 5. And at number 5, we have my GOAT, Alexander Volkanovski. Now, Volk, I believe, is a top 3 striker of all time. Um, at the same time this year, last year, I would have had him at probably number 1, but after him getting carried over Ilya, I have to put him down. But still, that Ilya fight, round 1 really impressed me. He dominated Ilya in round 1, and he was winning round 2 till he got KO'd. Now, the man himself, Volkanovski, the real reason why he's... fuck, I'm so retarded. The real reason why he's on this list, I sound like a fucking AI. The reason why he's on this list is his dominant performance over Max Holloway. He didn't beat him once, he didn't beat him twice, but 3 times. In the third fight, he 50-45'd him. Now, we've got his fight against Jose Aldo as well. His fight against Yair, where he KO'd him in round 3 with ground and pound. We've got... People forget, man. Volkanovski really beat Jose Aldo. People forget about that performance against Jose Aldo. People think, oh, Aldo out of his prime, but that was only Aldo after he lost to McGregor and Holloway twice. And he went out there, dominated Jose Aldo. Then we've got his round 3 KO with ground and pound over Yair. He really just broke Yair down. We haven't seen before that, we hadn't seen someone beat Yair like that ever, apart from Max Holloway. And then we've got his dominant performance against TKZ, where he TKO'd him in round 4. And we've got his round 2 KO over Chad Mendes, which put Chad Mendes, a very good underrated fighter, he put him into retirement. But let's move on to number 4. We've got Tommy Aspinall. Hello, John. Now, this man is just a Grim Reaper of heavyweight. KO'd Curtis Blades in a minute. KO'd Sergey Pavlovich in 90 seconds. Beat Alexander Volkov up, who we've seen now is the best non-championship heavyweight, and he just fucking dominated him. He KO'd Marcin Tybura in round 1, and he KO'd Sergey Spivak in round 1. Now, this guy, I believe, beats John Jones. I think he KO'd John Jones in the 3rd or 2nd round. And he's dominated everyone he's fought in the UFC, apart from when he got a freak injury against Curtis Blades, pardon me. But Tom Aspinall, he's on here because of his power mainly. His power, he just KOs everyone, and he embodies a true heavyweight, unlike these fat motherfuckers like Tybura and Spivak. But let's move on to number 3. Number 3, we have Islam Makhachev. Now, this guy, I believe, is a top 3 striker because he outstruck Volk. I put twice, but really Volk outstruck him in the first fight. I forgot about that. Volk outstruck him in the first fight. I believe he also won that fight, but he KO'd Volk in the second fight. Didn't just KO Volk, but he did it faster than Ilya. He KO'd Volk with the head kick in the first round. Now we've got his performance against Dustin Poirier, where he showed he can outbox one of the best boxers in the UFC, which just further put his resume as a striker up. Then he also knocked down Charles Oliveira, who, while Charles Oliveira is a bit chinny, gets knocked down before. That's still very impressive to me. And then we've got his fight with Arman Tsarukyan. Not much to be said, really. Islam is an amazing kickboxer. Best striker at lightweight. Would be the best striker at welterweight. I have him beating everyone at welterweight as well. I think he'll be a double champ. And Islam, his kickboxing is just phenomenal. And as he showed against Dustin Poirier, his boxing is really underrated and really good. Let's move on to number 2. At number 2, we've got Ilia Topuria. We've got that image, which isn't actually real, of him not actually KOing Volkanovski because it's not real, but we've got his CGI round 2 KO over Volkanovski. You've got his CGI round 3 KO over Max Holloway, and he's got his dominant performance over Josh Emmett, where he 10-7'd him in a round. Now, Ilya really isn't an actual striker. His 2 most popular fights are not even real, so I'm going to be honest, let's just move on. Total cope. But I don't care. Number 1, we've got Alex Poatan Pereira. We've got his fight with Izzy where he KO'd him. We've got him KOing, how he KO'd Yuri in the second round twice with a head kick, as you can see here. We've got his Sean Strickland round 1 KO, which ages better and better by days going on. We've got his first round KO over Jamal Hill, his fourth round KO over Khalil Roundtree, and his decision over Jan Blachowicz. All jokes aside, let's go back to Ilya. Ilya, he's one of the best strikers we've ever seen. A lot of people would put him number 1, which I can't blame you. His power is fucking retarded. He's the most powerful puncher the UFC's ever seen, maybe even more powerful than Francis Ngannou, and he is by far the best boxer the UFC has ever seen. This man's boxing is on another caliber. We thought Max Holloway was an all-time boxer, one of the best. We thought Dustin Poirier was an all-time boxer, one of the best. But this man's boxing is fucking insane. He sort of outboxed Volk before he KO'd him. And then he KO'd Volk with his hands. Then he went against one of the best boxers of all time in Max Holloway. And he outboxed him, first round, really close. I gave it to Holloway, though. I think you could distinctly give it to Holloway. Second round was Ilya's, and then in the third round he wobbled him, which I didn't expect. And then he did the unthinkable, which is KO the granite chin of Max Holloway, which I was in disbelief, and I fucking hate this man because he made me cry twice. He made me cry in that Volk fight, he made me cry in the Holloway fight, but he's just insane. He's ridiculous. But let's move on to number 1, which I said is Alexander Volkanovski. Now, I already described those things. Fuck off, monkey. Why is this monkey calling me? So he KO'd Izzy. Izzy was beating him. Then he KO'd him. He has 2 dominant performances over Yuri Prohaska. Round 1 KO over Sean Strickland, really dominant, and then we've got his first round KO over Jamal Hill, and then his fourth round KO over Khalil Roundtree, and then his decision over Jan Blachowicz. Now, Alex Pereira, I have him as the best striker here. I believe he's possibly the best striker of all time. The only people I could see being better strikers of all time than him are Anderson Silva and Alexander Volkanovski, and there's not much to say. Everyone knows about Alex Pereira. He's got that left hook of death, which just kills people. He's got his leg kicks, he's got his head kick, he's got his body shots, everything just lethal. Once this guy hurts you, it's over. We saw in the Khalil Roundtree fight in the third round at the end, he hurt him, and then in the fourth round, he just 10-7'd him. This man, Alex Pereira, beats every single fighter on the feet. Maybe every single fighter to ever fight on the feet. Pound for pound, he'd beat Ilya on the feet. He'd beat everyone, and that's why he's number 1. So, thank you for all watching, and